Hello, everyone. I welcome all of you to this webinar. First, few very important things. Please make sure all of you are on mute, and you can use the chat box as and when required. But apart from that, try not to unmute yourself at any point. So, and if you could keep your cameras off, that will also help to avoid any sort of lag. So please make sure that you're abiding by all of these. There's a poll live. Please fill in, just participate in that poll. Let us know what you want to hear more about and what you want to learn more about. It will just give us better perspective for future webinars and also this one. So please go ahead and it's a very quick poll. It will hardly take 2 minutes of yours. So please fill that in. We will start sharp at 4:05. Another 3 minutes and we start.
I think in the meantime, you folks can also introduce themselves in the chat section, perhaps. A lot of people are here.
Yeah, if all of you can just put in your company name, that'd be great. Your name and your company name, whichever company you're representing. We'll just have better perspective as to the audience that we're catering to. Hi, Chaitanya, Rajesh, Ravi. So many people that I'm tough to catch.
Yeah, I think we had 500 plus registrations. So I think we are missing a few more.
I guess the count is increasing with every second, I think. Soon have more.
I hope people are not waiting for the recording.
I wish so.
They just find, like, a lot of people find it to be convenient that, okay, just send me the recording. I think we should say from next time, the session will not be recorded. So please come.
Exclusive just for the eyeballs.
Okay, Shikhar, I think we can start. We have 137 people now.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, once again, welcome everyone who has joined. We are really happy to see all of you here, and it's amazing to have uh, this amount set of people coming in, taking time on a busy Thursday, and joining this webinar. I hope it turns out to be really amazing for you, and I'm sure, but yeah, I hope you are hoping that it turns out to be really amazing for you. So
By the way, to introduce Shikhar, Shikhar recently joined Cutshort. It's been what, a month?
More than a month, Nikunj.
Okay. Okay, great. So I think Shikhar is he has been using Cutshort. So he was a Cutshort user, and fortunately he decided to join the company as well. So I think got inspired by the product and the team as well. So now his job here is to take forward the team and also the culture and also the overall impact that we are making at Cutshort. So welcome Cutshort, welcome Shikhar to Cutshort. And I think a lot of people will now see you more here, in participating in a community and different things that we do out to do at Cutshort.
Thank you so much, Nikunj. That is too kind of you.
Yeah, and another thing is that all our users who are here, a lot of them have been following Cutshort. They have been using Cutshort. All of them are very supportive. So just more than you introducing yourself to them. I'm introducing them to you and saying that, they are wonderful people, all of them, always there to support Cut Short, all our initiatives. They also try to improve, to make us improve and all of that, right? So I think you'll be, having a great time with them as well when you're interacting with them. Uh, yeah, so I think
Amazing.
you have a good time here.
Thank you so much, Nikunj. I am really looking forward to that. I'm really excited. And I can see Shruti and Deepakshi also grinning. So yeah, I'm sure they are also very excited to interact with everyone. Amazing. So now let's move to, why are we having this webinar? So I'll just quickly present my screen. Give me a second. Yeah. So as we already know that this webinar is all about tech hiring and employer branding in July 2022. So what's the current trend? What has been in the trend in last 3 months, 6 months, 9 months? That's where we want, and that's why we focus also on the month, because trends change. It's a very dynamic industry. I mean, today we are speaking of something, tomorrow something else happens. So it's definitely, we have observed the trend over time and also analyzed a lot of data that has come in. So that is what we will be discussing about. So now moving to the next part. So why this webinar? We want to precisely replace the whole guessing thing that's going on in the market, right? Everyone is guessing something or the other. This is happening. This is how the tech market is changing. This is something that, say offers are less, competition is more, this, that, salaries have gone up, down. No one knows no one has any concrete data about the same, but everyone is just busy guessing. So we want to replace those guesses, those predictions, those sentiments to facts and data. So that's what we are here for. Now, coming to the agenda, you must have already gone through the agenda. I'm sure we all have already checked that before coming in. So the agenda of this webinar will be to understand the key trends in tech talent market and how to adapt to them. Second would be to understand employer branding trends. And then third would be an overview of how Cutshort can help. That'll be the third part of the webinar. Now I would like to introduce you to the guests. So I'm sure a lot of people already know Nikunj. He is the CEO at Cutshort, and uh, someone who has founded Cutshort, which is all about, which has turned out to become the #1 tech hiring platform in India. Itself explains how excited he is as a person when it comes to the tech hiring space. And has been very closely observing the market, the job market trends for over 7 years. So there are hardly very few people who we can really vouch for when it comes to tech hiring and tech job market, and their opinion, or their, because their opinion is also backed with a lot of data and experience. So Nikunj is one of them, and which makes him one of the best people to be speaking about tech hiring today. Welcome, Nikunj.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, you
Much
said
later
too much,
after you
so
welcomed me. So yeah.
yeah, maybe you said too much, but I think my strength is not to know a lot of things. My strength is just to learn and talk to people, understand from them. So I'll be making an attempt here to make some sense of what is happening, and of course, people will have again different viewpoints, may have different viewpoints. So we can definitely discuss. But the output is that once we go back from here, I think we should have some more facts with us, maybe some more opinions, some more discussions. Maybe we'll not still have the true picture because it's a complicated market. But I think, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to learn and hear what other people have to say.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Nikunj. Now moving to our next guest, Deepakshi Dawar has joined us today. She's been kind enough to join in. And speaking of Deepakshi, she has over 7 years of experience in marketing, branding, of which the recent 2 years of experience has been in solving growth problem statements. She takes care of marketing and growth at Klub, which is a fintech platform facilitating revenue-based financing for digital businesses. She has prior experience working with companies like Cred and GroupM. So she comes with a lot of experience into employer branding and has been doing that for a while now. So welcome, Deepakshi, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Shikhar. Thanks for say for your really kind words. But yeah, hello everyone. I see almost 200 of us are here now. Really excited for this to happen because I mean, this is a real problem statement, which I think more than 200 of you all here are facing today. And looking forward to it. And what I'm realizing once people said which companies are they from, I feel that this is a sector agnostic problem. There are folks from advertising agencies, there are folks from MNCs, there are folks from tech studios. So it's really great to see a bunch of you all here, agnostic of any sector. And yeah, looking forward to a great session.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Cool. Moving on to our next guest, and Shruti is the employer branding lead at BukuWarung. Shruti has been helping startups with their communications and branding problems for over 7 years now. Previously, she worked with the likes of .pay, ITC, Gravity Labs, Thunderpod, and some non-profits like Breakthrough and Katha. Her love for stories, data, and creating a meaningful work culture have brought her to BukuWarung. It's an Indonesian fintech startup as an employer branding lead, where she and her team work to showcase the brilliant culture the organization has to offer and the powerful stories of the team members at BukuWarung. Welcome, Shruti.
Thank you, Shikhar. It's a pleasure to be here. Like Deepakshi said, I think it's exciting how diverse the crowd is. I'm going to try and be as helpful, like share learnings from the fintech sector at least. And let's see what kind of questions come up. I'm excited about this.
Awesome. Glad to have you here. Cool. Now I'll just go through the guidelines once again because approximately 150 people have joined again. Before we move to that, there's a live poll that's going on. It will we'll end it in next 2 minutes. So please make sure that you're feeding in the data there so that it helps us to make it more fruitful for you. Now coming to the guidelines, as I said, please keep yourself on mute. And if you have any questions, anything that you want to ask any of the speakers, make sure that you're dropping it in the chat box and make sure you're using your email address. So there might be, say, influx of 100 questions. We might not be able to answer all of them as a part of the Q&A session, which we have at the end of the session. We will definitely make sure that all those questions are addressed to the speakers, the panelists, and then the answers are taken from them and sent it across to you over your email. So please make sure you're adding your email address with your name, with your question and your name. Thank you. Cool. I'll wait for another minute before we start off.
Can you enable screen sharing in the meantime?
Yes, sure.
Okay, I think the poll is just one question, so I think it should be over now.
Yeah. So we'll end the
Can
poll
you
now.
show the results of the poll as well?
Yes. Let's check.
Okay, so there is some interesting insight coming from there.
Awesome. Cool. So now moving on from the poll.
Are we waiting for something or?
Yeah. Cool.
So if I think tech hiring trends is the majority of the interest here right now. And I think we have two speakers, two special guests talking about employer branding as well. And I think we've got a lot of ground to cover. So I think we can start. You want me to go next, Shikhar?
No, Nikunj. So I wanted to kind of come to the questions that's at the top of everyone's mind. We did a recent survey from which we kind of got a lot of data, and we have also been trying to understand what the pulse of the recruiters are, what they're looking to question. So three hot questions that comes to our mind, all of us, is first, has tech hiring actually slowed down, or is it just a, notion or a prediction? And the second question would be, have salaries of developers become realistic now? So there was a significant wave in the market where salaries were very high and somewhat to the point of being unrealistic because of the demand in the market. So have salaries of developers become realistic now, and are there any changes in the way candidates are thinking? So these are the top three questions that I think is there at the top of all our recruiters. And if there are any more questions, I would request all of you to put it in the chat. But according to us, these are the three top questions and the hottest ones, which we would want Nikunj you to answer.
Okay, sure. So let me just share my screen. You can see my screen?
Yes, Nikunj, we can.
Okay, great. So yeah, I think all those three questions are very interesting. Interestingly, we talk to a lot of companies on a daily basis, right? So we have, 2,000 companies active in a month, and then our team, customer success team, revenue team, all of them are talking to people. So most important questions that I think are typically are they get asked are the questions that you just mentioned, which is, has tech hiring actually slowed down? And if you notice, this is coming from largely news items like this.
Nikunj, I think people are not able to hear you clearly. If you could just keep the
Okay,
mic closer, maybe a bit louder
Okay,
would be great.
just a minute. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Okay, so I think the question that has tech hiring slowed down is largely coming from the news articles and alerts that we are getting. So we're getting two kinds of alerts: layoffs happening, and a lot of companies announcing hiring freezes. And this is an example of those kind of news items. International big tech companies have definitely started hiring freezes, or they have started laying off. So these are some of the items. There's a large, in the VC community, and any hyper funded or high funded kind of a company setup in that environment. There's a lot of caution about what's coming up next 1 or 2 years or 3 years. So a lot of stuff has been put out because of this. A lot of companies, especially in the big tech companies, have announced hiring freezes. So this is the reason why this question gets asked the most. That is it actually a downtime or downturn for the tech hiring? I think when you look at this international news and look at the Indian context, you will see a few companies announcing layoffs in India as well. And the news keeps coming. I think every month we have around 5-10 companies announcing layoffs. So definitely layoffs are happening in India as well. But then there are also contradictory news, like which I've highlighted here. There are a lot of people also think that recession or whatever is happening in the top tech or the top funded kind of setup in US and other developed countries, India may not be directly impacted because of that. So there is always this the contextualization of what is happening at a global scale and what's happening in Indian ecosystem. So I think it's very interesting that how do you actually make sense out of it. So what we did actually is we looked at Cutshort's data itself, and this is a data about how many companies are signing up on Cutshort, and these are the new companies who are signing up on Cutshort every month. And when I look at this data, I'm really not finding much dip in last 4 or 5 months or 3 months. The companies who are coming in, they continue to be stable, or they haven't actually increased since January. So that is one piece of data. The other piece of data is about job postings on Cutshort. Again, Cutshort is why it's a good source, because Cutshort is used by, as I said, a lot of companies on a monthly basis. So you can take an intersection of or a cross section of the kind of audience that is there on today's webinar as well. You will find them to be a very mixed bag. They're coming from different kind of startups, different kind of industries. So it's a good collection of companies who are hiring in tech in India. They're coming from big funded startup space as well. They're coming from profitable startup space, early stage startups, bootstrap startups, services startups, all of them, they form the basket of this segment. So I think from that perspective, it's a good approximation of about, for this audience, what's happening. So in the job posting, if I look at a job posting, what I'm looking at is in July, since March peak, there's a 20% drop over the peak in terms of job posting data. And I did actually a similar analysis on number of candidates recruiters are unlocking, which means that they're interested in talking to them. So the job postings has new information, new data coming in, but a lot of people are just looking at database, or they're looking at they're hiring still on the older jobs that they're not really posting a new. So all these unlocks, all data also is showing a similar trend of around 20% drop over the highest peak. So it's not a significant drop as of now. There is some drop, but there is very little drop in terms of the companies who are signing up. Which brings us to the interesting question that, okay, if this is happening, this is our data, then what we did is we actually asked companies, we did a survey and we asked them that, okay, what is the hiring status of your company? And there itself, we are seeing a lot of companies actively hiring. Some companies are hiring slowly, and some companies have announced a temporary pause for hiring for 4 months, and some companies are in long-term pause mode. So there is some cross-section coming in from there as well. Companies are largely hiring, but they're also slowing down, especially, and I'll come to that, why it is happening and what are these companies doing. But that's the data that we have got. Second thing that we ask companies is how many jobs openings you have today versus 3 months ago. And again, a lot of companies are saying, a big section of companies saying there's not a much change, not a lot of change. They have similar number of job positions open. And it's almost equal number of companies are saying they have more jobs and fewer jobs. So again, there is no clear trend coming in from there as well. And then what we did actually is, putting together all these pieces and what exactly is happening. While the big tech and the big companies are announcing freezes, at the same time, we are seeing on Cutshort, companies are coming in here to hire, and then they are also unlocking candidates, they're also talking to more candidates. And there's also other interesting pieces that we also saw from the recruiter survey that we did. And what actually we concluded is that the three-tiered model, or three segments of the market that we are actually essentially looking at. The first one is the top tech giants and super funded startups. These are the companies that pay very high salary. These are tech giants, all the man companies, as well as a lot of funded companies in India as well. And there definitely, because of the economic status and the changes, there is a lot of companies are announcing pauses. They already overhired too much, so they are now announcing pause. Some of them are laying off, especially because of the funding scenario changing. So in this segment, it's kind of red right now. And that is where I think a lot of news is coming in from. But if you look at the total universe of the companies, this is not a very big number in terms of the overall companies out there. So yes, this segment is kind of gotten affected, and they are stopping to hire, and they are either laying off or they're announcing a pause. But then there is a middle section, which is actually a large section and a much larger section. And here are the companies actually seeing good growth. They're not really dependent a lot on the next round of funding happening in 1 or 2 years. They are already seeing good growth in the business model. And a lot of companies which are there in webinar today are actually coming from this bucket. They're not in that tech giant space. They're not in the super funded startup space, and they're seeing good growth plans. They already raised money. They already have money in the bank. They're seeing good progress, and a lot of them are actually actively hiring. And this is what correlates with the previous question that we asked them: are you actively hiring? So yes, a lot of people are actually actively hiring right now. And then there's some people in this bucket who have actually put themselves in a wait and watch mode. They are still not sure what to do. So largely coming from taking a cue from the top segment, they are actually they've been asked by their investors, by the management, to take a bit of a break from hiring, and now they have kind of paused their hiring. So they are in a wait and watch mode. Depending on where the market will go from here, they will decide their strategy. So 20% of them are here, and this is why the number of job postings is dropping on Cutshort as well. This is why the number of candidate unlocks or profile unlocks are getting it's also seeing a drop on Cutshort. But this is largely a temporary phase. We think it's going to be around 3 months of more clarity that these companies need from the market. And then of course there's a third biggest segment, which is very large tech companies, very stable companies, a lot of startups, early stage startups, raising their pre-series A kind of rounds. And these companies are ideating. These companies have initial money as well. And these are not hiring at a very super high salary. They're hiring at a decent amount of or a normal amount of salary. And their companies are hiring all the time. There are a lot of people hiring in bulk mode, and all of that is happening. So that's why it's interesting to see this entire picture. It's interesting to see this picture because some of the things that we will look into will come from this overall scheme of things and the overall
Nikunj,
high level
there's
picture.
sorry to interrupt. There's some disturbance from your end. Your mouthpiece, I think.
Just a minute. Let me actually try without my earphone. Is it better?
No,
Yeah,
wait.
much,
I think
much.
someone was unmuted, so there was an echo from there. So you're sorry, fine.
Okay, now, but this is better now, right?
Yeah, much better. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so I think this is how we can actually try to make sense of it. Now, once this is understood, we can go to the next question, which is about salaries. And I remember 3 months, 4 months ago, whenever I used to go to any of the conferences, I used to meet any of the founder people, any of those HR and recruiters. The first question that they used to ask: when will this market cool down? When will this insanity end? People they can't just believe the salaries that other people were getting, the candidates who were getting from the market. And I think this is the question that keeps coming at now. Okay, now what has the because of all this big tech freeze and layoffs, can we now expect to see the market or the candidates coming down in terms of salary requirements or salary asks that they have? And that's why this is one of the most important questions that companies typically have today. Now, there also, what we did is we asked companies that what are the changes in the job salaries, and assuming that if some sentiment has changed in terms of a candidate demand supply, now they don't have many companies competing for them. So now, are you now changing your job salaries versus last 3 months ago? And a lot of companies, majority of the companies said they have not changed their salaries. So they're still offering the same salary as they were doing 3 months before. They have not changed it. In fact, a lot of companies actually are saying that they are now increasing their salaries and they're paying more than what they were paying before. Now, this also could be a kind of late response to the market. So they had not increased salaries before and now they're increasing. But anytime, if you look at it, very few companies actually revise the salaries downwards. And this is all coming from the surveys that the people in our community have filled up. So you guys will, or you folks will actually relate to it. Next question we ask is, while your job salaries or advertisements of the salary that you are doing on jobs has changed or not changed, are you able to close roles at lower salary hikes? Again, trying to test the fact that if there are enough, if there are fewer candidates, fewer jobs available for candidates, you should be able to close more roles and you should be able to close candidates with lower salary hikes. But then again, there are also a lot of people saying, no, we are actually paying higher salary hikes now. And a lot of people saying, no, they have not changed. And a lot of people saying, I can't really make a sense out of this data anymore, or I'm not able to make sense of the situation. Sometimes I'm able to close higher, sometimes I'm able to close lower. So again, no definitive trend coming in, or nothing really proving in that market has cooled down in terms of salaries. And to corroborate from the other side, we also ask the candidates that, what is a reasonable salary hike that you think someone with your profile should get. And there also we are seeing that 50 to 100% hike. I think 43% people are saying that they expect 50 to 100% hikes from the market. 28% people are saying they are expecting they're expecting 100% or more hike. Then there are people who are saying, 10 to 25% people a hike are being demanded by only people with 12 to 12% people, right? So again, there is no real feedback loop going into the market and candidates. They have not reduced their salary expectations. In fact, the salary expectations with 50% to 100% hike still remain. Again, this is only 3 months of data change, right? So all of stuff was going well till April. I think May, June, July is a time when some correction or something has happened. But candidates have so far not drawn any cues or not really adjusted their salary expectations from the companies. So I think these are the two major things that we wanted to that we got to know from our surveys and our data. And third question that we also wanted to explore was now with this whole layoff scene, because it has happened, companies announcing layoffs and companies announcing hiring freezes. So has candidate preferences or have candidates candidates change their preferences now. And that indeed is true, that we have found here, that when we asked them what is most important in your next company or job, we gave them a bunch of options, and 22% people actually said financial stability of the company that is offering the job is actually now more important. So 22% people actually put financial stability of the company as number one criterion, as opposed to 25% given to salary, which of course would be higher. But then it is a surprise to me that now financial stability out of nowhere is coming to be one of the most important things that candidates are actually looking for in this market. And then again, we asked the same question to recruiters, that when you're talking to candidates, are you seeing a trend that they are becoming more cautious about the company to join? And 56% recruiter actually said that they are seeing candidates, or they are actually getting more questions about the company, the stability of the company from the candidates, which were not happening before. So definitely, financial stability and in the layoffs and all of those scenarios have actually changed the market and changed the candidate preferences to some extent. And the next part we wanted to also talk about to the candidates is, in this market, what kind of companies you want to work at. And we gave them a bunch of options like big tech, like Microsoft, Amazon, bank companies. We gave them option of well-established Indian startups like Razorpay, new startups with good funding, which are now taking off. They have decent amount, but not very well established yet. And profitable startups like Zerodha and Cutshort itself, and early stage startups. And one thing that we learned, and which is actually very interesting and which will be relevant to a lot of people in this room as well, is that they are cautious about early stage startups. So if the company is a big tech, of course, that is number one preference that people have, or techies have. But apart from it, they prefer companies with good funding. They prefer companies well-established Indian startups. They also prefer a lot of profitable startups now. I've seen there's a separate data point on it, that a lot of people now have shifted their preference towards profitable startups, which was not happening before. So profitable startups and bootstrap startups like Cutshort have actually gained some traction here. But early stage startups are the biggest impacted set of party here, because people are now more cautious. They're not sure how stable these companies will be, which is jiving with the previous information that people are looking at financial stability of the company more. So these and I think one thing we also wanted to ask, that since a lot of companies are opening their offices, they want the people to come back to office. We also wanted to ask them that what is the candidate's preference on resuming office. And surprisingly, or not so surprisingly, they're actually 57% candidates either completely want remote or they want largely WFH. Very few people are okay with in office as a primary mode of working. And 55% people are choosing work from home not because they don't want to travel or something, because they are choosing to stay in their native places. So they are not in tier 1 cities, they are living with their families. And the reason why they're choosing to work from home is they want to work with from those towns, those native places, without having to move to a big city like Bangalore or Hyderabad or Bombay and stuff like that. So that's also very interesting thing here. I think a lot of people were hoping that market will shift and candidates will start coming to offices and they'll be open to it, but I don't think that's happening. Largely confirmed by a lot of candidate conversations as well. Yeah, so I think these are some trends that we saw, Shikhar, and I think people might have more questions and follow-up thoughts on this. So I think you can please ask those questions and follow-up questions, observations, thoughts on the chat section. If you disagree, agree, please go give it a go, because as I said, we're trying to make sense of the market, and which is a very, very difficult thing to do. This is something that we have tried to do from our data, our observations, our conversations, because we happen to be in the ecosystem. We are talking to companies all the time, so we have tried to do that. But feel free to write your comments and questions there, and towards the end of the webinar, we'll try to pick them up.
Sure. Thank you so much, Nikunj. And I think there is a lot of information to be absorbed at once for all the recruiters. And so I would like to also let everyone know that there's a contest that we are running. And now that you have already gained a lot of insightful information from this webinar, and now you must have realized that, okay, this is something where you're getting a lot of insights about the tech trends, and obviously furthermore about similar the topics, the agendas that we have. So we would want you to go and comment on this post that Nimisha has just shared in the chat box. and the most interesting and the creative comment would receive some really exciting gift hamper from us. So please go ahead and comment on that, and the most creative ones would really be awarded. And you need to put something that you grasp from this insightful data that Nikunj shared. Now coming back to
Actually, I would love to know from people in the chat section what is that they found to be most surprising, what most unexpected, and what was not a news to them. That would be very interesting to see. You can just try it in chat section. In the meantime, yeah, Shikhar, we can go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. More than the chat section, guys, if you do it in the comment section, it will get you goodies. So yeah. Speaking of that, now coming to the next part of the webinar. So Nikunj, what we could clearly understand is there have been a lot of changes in the tech market, and one thing that stood out for us was financial stability becoming a very important part. And also people are asking about how the company is. They're interested in knowing what the company does. So what does it mean for companies now? That's my question to you. Based on the complete data that you shared, what does it now mean to companies? What next?
Okay, you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
So I think all these insights and data points are great. But of course, everyone wants to go back home and decide that what should all this mean and what they can do about it. So as we ask people and companies that are you hiring or not hiring, you are in two buckets. Either you are hiring actively, you are hiring slowly, and then third bucket is that they are taking a long-term break. If they are hiring, then basically what I from data and from the insight that we have is that three buckets you can do, three things you can do actually. If you're hiring the top tier talent, so again, the same pyramid and same thing that we saw in the previous slide. So there's a top end of the market, which is the proven talent, proven tech talent. These are the people working in, already proven, already working at a very high salary in the big tech companies. They're working in very well-funded startups. So if you are looking for this kind of talent, then actually you are in green, and that's why I marked that section. This section is in green. It's not very easy. I've not made it very dark green, but it's light green, which means that this is a great.
1 second, Nikunj. I think you're sharing the wrong screen.
Okay, just a minute. You can see now?
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry for that. Okay, so the first, again, I've made the pyramid, right? So the top of the pyramid is the people who are proven tech talent. These are, as I said, these are the people working in big tech. These are the people working in very well funded startups at a very high salary. And this is a market which has actually gotten affected. So what was read there, that companies in some trouble, is actually, giving some advantage to companies who want to target this talent. And this is a good chance for you to hire them, because clearly big tech has stopped hiring. Very well funded startups have gone towards profitability. They have overhired in the past, so they're not hiring anymore. So this talent pool, which is working in these companies at a very high salary and they're already proven, these are the people who are now who have less options available. So if you are the one who want to go after this talent pool, this is a good time to go for this talent pool. The only thing is these people are not may not want to move right now. So while they don't have many options, they also prefer stability, and which is what we just discussed in the previous slide. So they are not going to go just for any job. You have to really make it a strong pitch. You have to be financially stable. And if that is something which you can offer, and these people are, let's say that they've completed 2 or 3 years in that company, maybe they will be able to move out. So what is most important here, if you're targeting this talent pool, is to highlight you are financially stable, and then you have to ensure that you are available. You are accessible to them when they start looking out. And that is the number one, tip if you're hiring for this talent pool. Now, the second category of talent is not proven, not very high salary talent pool, but a second great high, and I call it high potential talent, because these are the people who have not been discovered by market yet,
who are at relatively lower salary right now. But then this is a talent pool which actually can be discovered by the companies, and there's a lot of people out there in this segment. So you have to identify the right people here. But then this is a great ground for people to hire. Now in this market where you hire people, let's say at a salary bracket for 2 or 3 year experienced developer at around 8 to 10 lakhs or 12 lakhs to 25 lakhs or 20 lakhs, right? So 3 year experience getting 25 lakhs of salary or below. This kind of salary range, if you're offering, then this is the time for you to stand out from the crowd, because nothing has changed in this market so far. There's some hiring pause happening, not a big shift happening. Candidates have not changed their preferences. They're still looking for higher salary. There's still companies who are joining Cutshort and who are coming in every day to hire. So a lot of companies are out there. Some of them have stopped and paused hiring, but again, they're compensated for a lot of companies who have joined the bandwagon to hire. And this is a very competitive kind of a salary range. Companies want to get good talent, and they are going after this talent, right? So they have many options, and that's why when we ask them, recruiters, a lot of questions about offer letter, offer to joining ratios, about the hiring speed. A lot of people said there's no big shift happening there because this is still a very, very competitive market. And if this is the pool that you're going after, it's a good time to do it. Yes, there are less companies out there, but then what is more important is that you still have to fight the battle for talent. And I think for that, you have to again highlight financial stability. You have to offer work from home, and most importantly, you have to stand out. You have to make people understand what your company is all about. And you have to control the funnel. I think that's the second part of the puzzle. And third is, if you are not hiring at at this kind of salary range, you are hiring people at entry level, people you're trying to groom for your future tech bench and talent bench. Those are the people, and this market is very big. Everybody's hiring there. It is still red. The problem statement is largely about finding good talent there. So there, basically, if you're hiring for this talent, it's still as good or as bad time as any. And what is more important here is to spot the right talent and figure out how are you going to filter them out, how are you going to assess them, and how are you going to find the people that fit your bar. And that is, I think, if you're hiring, then this basically is my summary to the companies who are targeting different kinds of talent. If you're not hiring, then basically this is a time, depending on how much horizon you have or how much horizon you're not hiring for. If it's a short-term 3 month, 6 month thing that you're not hiring, I think it's a great time for you to be focusing on hiring process improvements and tooling, things that you realize in the last battle for talent you were losing battle on, you were losing the fights on. So what are those things? You do not have tools, you don't have assessments, you did not have employer branding, so that you can now, if you work on employer branding now, your offer letter issue that most of companies had in the previous in the previous bull run. I think you can work on those, and you can also build talent network here. Not hiring does not mean that you don't build network, because if you don't build network, then when the time starts again, you have to start from scratch. So if 3 months, 4 months down the line, if the business wants you to close roles, then you should be in a much better position to close those roles. In terms of the speed, in terms of the already built talent pool, in terms of already having the hiring process improvement, employer branding that can close and work across the entire funnel. So this basically is my takeaway for companies, Shikhar, that if you're hiring, then adapt your strategy. If you're not hiring, then this is a great time for you to invest in these things and then prepare for the next battle when it begins.
Great. Thank you so much, Nikunj. I think what I can derive from it is, this is the time to be focusing a lot on, building a talent network, and that would only happen if we have pretty bagged employer branding that's happening, on the lines of financial stability and also the brand of the employer. So I think based on a lot of questions also that's being popped up, a lot of people are speaking of multiple job offers. So it's your employer brand to some extent, which will make them decide which offer to go ahead with, if it's a close offer in terms of compensation. So now I would like to move to our guest speakers who are experts in the employer branding space. So cutting to the chase, I would directly park my first question to Deepakshi. So Deepakshi, since competition for tech talent is showing no signs of reducing, employer branding is suggested as a solution as to what Nikunj also said and what we have been observing based on the polls, the surveys and similar. Has it worked for you in your experience? How do you think you have been able to use employer branding as the core to attract the right set of talent?
Thanks for the question, Shikhar. And I think I completely agree. A couple of people in the chat have also said that candidates have too many offers in hand. No candidate today is just accepting the first offer they've been rolled out, essentially, and which essentially brings me to the point of the importance of employer branding in today's startup ecosystem. Considering the ecosystem is rapidly expanding, it's extremely important to ensure that you're setting your brand apart. When I say your brand, I essentially mean the company you're working at. I'll actually take a quick example. I see somebody from Shebang is here. So in the audience, essentially. So Shebang is a marketing agency for those of you who don't know. And for Shebang to be able to distinguish themselves in a pool or a sea of marketing agencies today, what is it that they are doing to attract the right set of talent is what employer branding essentially is. And the short answer to your question would be yes, it has worked for us. And specifically, I will take the most recent example, which will be of Klub, that yes, employer branding has definitely worked for us. And I would say in numbers, we nearly saw an increase by about 300% in our applications than what we used to get. And I would also like to clarify that this didn't happen overnight. It did require us putting significant efforts in employer branding through sharing stories of our own employees, through sharing more organic and I would say more authentic content, which people want to see today on LinkedIn or on Twitter, wherever your target audience is essentially sitting. And these could be very small things, right? If you're having a team lunch, take a picture and post. If you're hiring for somebody, maybe if you're hiring in the tech department, maybe ask somebody who's been in the tech department of your company for too long to make a small video or talk about it. And these significant efforts consistently been put, I think, for about 5 to 6 odd months are genuinely reaping benefits to us. So one definitely was that we saw about a 300% increase in our applications. And I would say the second point would be, while this is a more verbal victory for us, I would say this is more of a vanity metric today. Anytime, somebody from our company today goes and takes an interview, people end up saying that, I already know about your company through your LinkedIn page. Because people want to see what your company is like, what is a day of an employee like in your company today. And they, of course, want to see the truest picture also, and not that you're only having fun and not working. But yeah, so I think broadly, yes, these are the couple of things that at least we saw in the recent times that have actually helped us set ourselves apart from the industry we are in today, which is fintech, and get more quality applications, I would say.
Great. That's really insightful, Deepakshi. And since you have had real-time experience and recent experience, it just adds to the credibility of what you have been speaking of. Amazing. So I'll now park my next question to Shruthi. So Shruthi, what's been your experience? What has your TA team highlighted as main challenges, and have you seen any specific improvements so far?
I think a lot of these challenges have already been written by a lot of TA folks in the chat, because yes, the competition for talent and also the constant competition and fight and negotiation between offers, right? There are a couple of long-term things that we put in place in terms of our priority, and there were certain short-term things. One of the things that we did see a long-term trend was that to understand the markets we are operating in. One was that our company's target market is Indonesia, so we have to eventually start hiring also from Indonesia. And Indonesia talent pool is like very competitive, not because they have a lot of talent pool, it's because it's very restricted. So there's a small talent pool that everyone's fighting for. And in India, we had a completely different experience again, it wasn't that Indian market was easy either. A lot of these issues that you're listing, like, counter offers and rejecting, is something a lot of RDA folks also experience. So the one thing that we actually understood from understanding our problem first was that for Indonesian market, we researched and understood a lot what is that a lot of these tech folks, what are they looking for when they are joining these organizations. So for Indonesian market, it turned out to be they wanted a potential for growth, and also we were looking for mentorship. And these were for also from managerial to senior managerial positions, and they wanted that potential for growth. So what we did as a first thing, as a reaction to that, was that we put in place that, okay, we're going to position our tech leaders as mentors. So that would mean going in, participating in events and webinars where they can actually share their knowledge and scale that up, just contributing to the community beyond contributing to the organization. And the other thing was stories of how they mentored people. So within your team, if you have people who are being, who are proud of the leadership that they have, you have to first invest, of course, in the quality of the leadership. And then if they're proud of that, then we invest in the research and understand, okay, what is the story they want to share? What was their journey? And we celebrate that, that this person started as someone, let's say, who had just ESOPs, and now today this person's like the head of a department. And he, has also had ESOPs buyback. So they actually see tangible, not only financial benefit from it, but they see the growth that they can probably be. At the end of the day, for any marketing initiative or any even if you're marketing your talent, for that matter, a lot of people want aspirations sell. So just focus on what are your talents, aspirations, and that's how we sort of navigated the place. For the Indian market, we realized burnout was, like Nikunj pointed out in your study also, a lot of people were saying the tech talent specifically, burnout was very common. Now, if you start competing with salaries, people will have multiple offers. There would always be a company that's going to pay higher. We did sort of take a step back and say that, when we are hiring resources, we know that if we go for a resource that's constantly looking for offers that is one up, then they are going to eventually not stay. So we asked for a reason rather than, of course, compensation, what would they stay for? And we realized burnout was a problem. So we introduced work from home policies, and we solved the actual problem of, employee well-being first and culture, and then let that be the testament for our brand. And that has actually reaped us more benefits. We don't have to sometimes even post on social. Our visitor rates for our LinkedIn pages are mostly just covered by people sharing their stories of how they use certain benefits and how that's helped them. So if you actually put your people first and you prioritize them, your people are going to prioritize you too. And that's the only way in the longer run.
Amazing. Shruti, thank you so much for this. It has also answered my next question, where I wanted to understand how can a lot of companies start off with their employer branding journey. And as you said, that we first need to identify the core values that we as an organization have and what we have been doing, and that can just reflect in our employer branding initiatives. Awesome. So I'll move to the next question, where quickly I would want 2 cents from each one of you in, say, a minute or two. So a major part of our audience are early startups, mid SMEs and similar. So in smaller companies, how can a recruiter or an HR professional, as we already know that there are no specific employer branding professionals as a part of any HR or marketing team in most of the organizations, how do they start employer branding without needing too much marketing support? How do we go about that? We can start with Deepakshi, you, and then Shruti to add 2 cents to this in a couple of minutes.
Perfect. I think if we have a few seconds, I'd first like to understand out of the 200 people here, which one of you doesn't have a marketing agency or somebody who you can access to in the org? Like you're a one-man army essentially, or a woman army. Are there people who do not get support from marketing teams or internal branding teams?
I think the
Right.
question is, do you get bandwidth from your marketing team for your employer branding efforts? So they may have marketing teams, but the marketing teams may be busy with their own stuff and they may not have enough bandwidth for employer branding initiatives.
And in the chat options also, what we can see is people are saying that we are a startup. We don't really have that kind of
Perfect.
support.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I see a few of responses where clearly folks do not have any support owing to bandwidth issues. Okay, irrespective, I think a few things, and I will be very tactical when I say this, which you can actually go back and implement starting today or tomorrow whenever you feel more convenient about this. It would be that LinkedIn in itself is a very strong platform today, majorly for hiring and employer branding. And that platform has introduced a lot of features for folks like us today to be able to create content without actually having a marketing team with you, right? So there would be inbuilt designs. If somebody has joined your organization, there would be some videos or animations, GIFs going on if somebody has completed a year or got promoted. I think all you got to do is, just chalk out the recurring events of your employee in their journey with respect to onboarding, exiting, promoting, because these are events that are quite recurring and are bound to happen in any employee's professional journey, right? If somebody's joining an org, would you like to just ask them to put it on LinkedIn by saying that, hey, I've joined this organization, and maybe tag the talent team member or the HR that thank you for the smooth onboarding. So I think these couple of things can actually go a long way without you having to rely or depend on a marketing or branding team in your organization. So that is definitely point one. Secondly, I feel that something which is very important for HRs these days, also considering the competition, considering no candidate is essentially settling for one offer, would be that also try and establish yourself as a different brand. Yeah, you are your own personal brand today, and considering you are also the first point of contact of your company, it is extremely important for you to also be speaking the same language and I'd say mirroring the same employee value propositions of the company, and also have some personal branding, post a little on LinkedIn about your experience, about hiring a candidate, or about anything that is essentially making sense to your industry today. So these 2 points I definitely feel will be extremely helpful and may not necessarily require for you to have a marketing team or a designer today with you. And I'd just like to end this with the last point, which I feel has also become supremely important, which is for candidates to know first what the startup is, what does the startup do, how's the culture, which is also a depiction of who the founder is. They would love to know about the founders who are running the startup, the founders, their experience, have they had a startup before, or is this their first or second stint, and how has their professional experience essentially been. So I think these 3 points, which I'll again summarize: utilizing LinkedIn to its best, I would say exploit LinkedIn as much as you can, explore it as well, be trying to build your own personal brand, and see also trying some sort of founder branding wherein your founder also has a tone of voice on their social media, would actually help a lot. And again, I would recommend, this is not a one-day thing. Yeah, this is not definitely a one-day thing. People would don't expect results immediately, or these are not short terms. This will definitely happen over time. And yes, and I'm confident enough to say that if a combination of these things happens, you will also see a difference within applications and the funnels that Nikunj just presented to us.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Deepakshi. This was really insightful. And as everyone was looking for some action items, I think this has helped. Shruthi, I would like to hear your 2 cents very quickly, as
Yeah.
we're already running out of time. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just try and wrap it up. The crux of the whole thing is that if you're trying to build your employer branding strategy from scratch, then start with the basics, start with your why, figure out what are your core values. That you can find plenty of employer value proposition questionnaires. That is essentially, how do you position your brand to your potential candidates, right? You can find that. So find your why and understand for each segment how you're going to differentiate that. Once you've found your why, let's say for us, for example, let's say people are looking for growth or psychological safety or freedom to make mistakes, then we try and market those content around those topics. Then go to to how you're going to market it. If you're a small team, then you can't be a people-relied process. Then you're going to go to automation, essentially rely on automation. Your tools like Cutshort ideally help here. If you feel like you don't have enough people, that's where employer branding, similar efforts that you want can be guided through such tools. Then the last thing is, once you have your how, if it's people driven or automation driven, then you can go to activities and resources. So for these, this would be specific, such as go to do that investment of setting that one time set a template by your marketing team or just by yourself. See another companies, let's say someone in your circle must have posted, hey, I'm thrilled to join this company. Find that, take the template, adapt it to yours. Sometimes copywriting is actually copywriting and you have to adapt it to your company. So it doesn't have to be overly complicated. Don't try and go from point A to point Z tomorrow. Like, try and take it step by step. It's a journey, not a destination. So ideally, if you actually go through these 3 phases of employer branding, you would have much more clarity on what you can do, how much you can employ, and given the stage of your company, and what you're looking at it resulting in, given, like, let's say if you want to hire 30 people by the end of the week or whatever it looks like. And like Deepakshi said, please don't expect results to turn up. Like, I posted 3 posts and I don't have like candidates coming up. That's very real. I know it's frustrating, but just hang in there. It's a process. Invest at least in 6 months, just at least for 6 months building it, and you would see the results. I know I have, Deepakshi has, and the trends also indicate the same.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shruti. So what I can understand is, to start with, we first need to understand why of things, as she suggested, a EVP questionnaire, as to understand what are our value propositions. I think that's something that still the HRs are happy to go ahead and do. What they really find very tough, in my opinion, is the later stage, right? So once we have derived what we are and what we are looking at, comes the really tough part, where maybe it's not our area of expertise when it comes to marketing and presenting and branding. So I think that's my opinion, that's our pain point. I would like to hear from Nikunj. Nikunj, what do you think? What is holding back people, companies from going ahead with employer branding? And is it, as I said, the stage after figuring out our EVP, that becomes the real pain?
Yeah, I think this is my favorite topic as well. And personally, we have been doing it at Cutshort as well. Until 6 months ago, we did not have any specific employer branding efforts for our own company as well. And I think a lot of people are asking in chat section also, and they're asking Deepakshi and Shruti as well. But I think the most important thing to understand is that these, like, most of companies have less skills in marketing and branding, and they think it's a complicated thing. Like, employer branding is not my thing. It is something I need help from my marketing team. My founders have to get involved in the whole communication part of it, and it becomes very complicated. And I think that's the first number myth or something which is holding companies back. I think the fact is that in like anything in life, 20% efforts can actually bring 80% results. And I think most of the things recruiters and HR can do on their own. And I think as Deepakshi also said, that you can leverage LinkedIn in some ways. You don't really need a lot of marketing team's help. You can do posts like that. You can build your own brand. You can live the values of the company and all of that, which is great. But I think the most important thing is for the people in this room to understand that they can do it, and they don't really need a lot of the involvement for other team members on an ongoing basis. Yes, it requires them to figure out the why and all of that, for which you have to not only involve your stakeholders, who are the management and founders and other people in the company, but it's actually the entire company itself. So those are your stakeholders, because employee value proposition comes from the employees, and we have to understand the employees first, right? So that you have to do, and that's a great learning experience for you as well. When you go back to your company, talk to your team members, do open houses, try to figure out what are the common patterns. It's a great exercise, and we have done it. It's fascinating, right? So the most important thing is, it's not complicated. You can do it as a recruiter HR. You don't need a full-blown marketing and branding team. That's one thing which I wanted to mention. Second thing is, a lot of people think it requires continuous bandwidth. So once I figured things out, I need somebody to continuously do something about employer branding, which again is not really entirely true. Yes, you can do certain things as Deepakshi and Shruthi have mentioned, that you can do things like employee joining, employee leaving, somebody getting promoted. All these things you can add to your calendar. And just make it a process. As soon as somebody joins, make it a process that you will send a welcome message to the person. Anybody gets promoted, you will do that, and you make it a process, and you distribute the load. You don't take the load on yourself. You make it more and more, operationalize it, and make it a process, and it works. Like the way you do one-on-ones, the way you do feedback, interview, check-ins about interview, discussions on candidates. All of these, why they work? Because you made them to be part of the process. Similarly, if you can make these things as milestones in the process, then you can really operationalize it, and anybody else can also do it. You don't need someone else to do it. And I actually think employer branding is not one team's responsibility. It is entire company's responsibility. And if you can tell them the meaning of this, the importance of this, then I think your company would love to support, and everybody will actually love to take some load from you. So I think those are the two myths and facts that I wanted to basically highlight, that it's not complicated and it can be done. And second, it does not require you to be there all the time. You can operationalize it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nikunj. So now when we speak of it to be automated, I think now is the time that I would be really happy if Nikunj, you can help us walk through a really exciting feature that we are coming up with at Cutshort, which was the third agenda, as to let everyone know how can we help and make. I mean, personally always believe that Cutshort has been making a recruiter's life easy. Whenever someone asks me what is Cutshort doing, this used to be my first thing, even when I was not a part of Cutshort. So I think now for employer branding also, how are we making an HR and a recruiter's life easy is something that I would really like to hear, and I'm really, because I know what's up in the new feature. But I would like to hear it from Nikunj, and I'm really excited to know this, because this will just solve a lot of our problems and it will just make our lives easy.
Yeah, so I think the way I mentioned, and I'm very excited to talk about it as well. I think the way I mentioned about employer branding just now, I think similar thing we have done for hiring as well. In a typical hiring process, a lot of sequences of things need to be done. And before Cutshort, it was very difficult for even us when we use Cutshort to do it. Things like how to shortlist, things like how to identify and understand the right candidates for our jobs. There was no quality grade. I could not have just looked at top quality people, high potential people. Now we have an algorithm to do it. There was no way to get a feel of a candidate before talking to them. Talking to every candidate is not possible. If you just shortlist on a gut feeling kind of basis, then you actually miss out a lot of high potential people who may not look like great from their resume. So how do you find that? How do you identify that problem? How do you solve the problem? So we create a screener for that, where you can have screening questions, and you can actually make people record an audio, and they record an audio. You just listen to the audio of 1 minute audio, and you decide whether this person is someone you want to talk to or not. So we have tried to do a lot of things in traditional hiring process, and now similar approach we are trying to take in employer branding as well. And the great thing about this entire thing is this development of employer branding into Cutshort also is not coming in from our, we are not forcing into the product roadmap and how we should do it. It's a very natural progression of things, because as we just discussed tactile and market trends, we realize that if you have everything else in place, but if you are not able to differentiate yourself from the crowd, then of course your conversion, your attrition, all of those problems will start coming in. And how can a company, and as we just asked companies in the chat section, and they said they don't have employer branding marketing team support, and then they are starved for bandwidth everywhere. So how can companies with smaller recruiting teams, with almost very small marketing teams also, how can they actually take employer branding advantage of employer branding? And that is something that we have tried to do in our approach at Cutshort. So what we have done is, what we have started from the fact is that we don't want to do it the way employer branding is done typically on, let's say, ATS platforms or other platforms, or like you go to a website and you get a banner ad where your banner is pasted across for all the visitors to see, and they may not be the right visitors for you as well, but that's the only thing that you can do. So what we want to bring here is, again, the targeting and relevance and data that we have, to use that for targeting and relevance. So only at the right time to the right candidate, your brand is shown, and you get a impression on the candidate at the right time, and the entire thing can be done very highly very accurately by Cutshort, because we have data about the candidates. We have the best talent pool out there. We know about the salaries, we know about the companies they have worked in. So we want to use that, which actually we have used for recruiting as well. So that's something that we wanted to start as one of the basic principles. Second principle is a lot of employer branding that we see is about softer things. A lot of things like people talk about things on LinkedIn. I joined a company and I was given a gift or a welcome onboarding kit. Then somebody is saying that we went out for some outing, and somebody is saying that we had a pizza party. So all these things are coming in, but then there is no brand coming out of that. Everybody is talking about activities. All the companies are doing these activities. So what are the things that actually matter to the tech candidates? And we just looked at in the previous section of this slide that what tech candidates are looking for. So they're looking for something, let's say the work from home is important to them. They're looking for something like financial stability. They're looking for something like tech stack. They're looking for something whether they can change tech stack. They're looking for something which is about the tech engineering culture that what your company has, the kind of people that I'll be working with. But that's very difficult to find out from a typical social media post, because anybody is writing about your company there. So what we also want to do is we want to cut to the chase. We want to not only put companies in front of the right people, we also want to put it in a way that your most important attributes shine, and those are attributes that actually tech candidates are deciding on. So how can we do that? It's something that we also want to do, and we also want to also pick up and improve in our solution. Third thing that we want to do is, so Deepakshi mentioned, Shruti also mentioned LinkedIn. I think Glassdoor did not come up in discussion. Glassdoor is one of the things also which always comes up in the discussions around the company culture and brand. So all these things you're already doing. You're already doing something on LinkedIn. You are doing, like, let's say we talked about joining, onboardings, people leaving, people getting promoted, company getting funding, company launching a product. All these things are doing on LinkedIn. And we don't want to come and create one more place for you that, okay, now LinkedIn is there, you also post on Cutshort. We don't want to do that. Of course, what we want to do is we want to integrate and plug into whatever you're doing, so that you are able to take advantage of both of these. And power of Cutshort in terms of the audience, in terms of the data we have, and in terms of the relevance that we have, and also in terms of what matters to the tech candidates. You use that, and then you take advantage of LinkedIn and Glassdoor as well. So that's what we have tried to do here, and that's why this is the first release actually we did today morning itself. I think tech team is still tired. They might still be fixing some bugs. So we just wanted to, in this thing, we wanted to show you guys that what exactly we have done and how are these things, 3 things we are delivering today. We're starting today, and it's going to be fast evolving as we learn from you and how you want to use it. But then I just want to show you, a quick glimpse of it in like 2 minutes. So first thing I've talked about is your company positioning and putting you in front of the right people. So instead of putting it in a banner where everybody sees it, like a website where everybody sees your brand, you pay for impressions, and then every company is targeting different people. So it doesn't really make sense to show your brand to everybody when you're not looking for them. It's a wasted exercise. You just end up getting distracted, and you'll be dealing with people that you don't want to hire. So what we want to do is we want to first of all make sure that it is very, very relevant to the candidate as well. And hence, this is a view of a candidate. When a candidate is looking at a job, this is where they see your brand, right? So deep-rooted, and I think Vinny is here in the audience. So I think deep-rooted, I will click on it. As a candidate, I see a detailed section about deep-rooted. I can follow this company if I'm interested, but before deciding to follow, I'll try to look at the company information. I'll look at a tech stack, which is very important for tech talent. And it's very difficult for this to be found anywhere very easily. So tech stack is already there. People can see what tech stack you work on. And one of the most important things is, as I said, standing out, and then directly taking questions that matter to the candidates. And this is what, this is our take on that. So basically with Cutshort, you can, our team will even help you get those value propositions out. A lot of companies, they said that they don't know. We talked about value propositions and what are the true things that you stand for. If you don't know them, if you know them, you have to know them. Of course, it's your exercise. But then at Cutshort, we can try to get them out for you. And here, a candidate can click on the things that they want to know more about it, from the company. So, for example, 2 things techies dislike about the company, and you are made to answer this question, which creates a great personality about your brand, because these are the questions that matter, and nobody's actually answering these questions. And in this example, you can see that deep-rooted tech head is answering questions about how what things techies dislike. And this kind of view, which is very candid, very, very relevant to the candidate's preferences, tends to drive your inflow in terms of people who will resonate with it. And in fact, as much as you want to impress people and attract people, the job here also is to dispel people or push people away who are not your type, and which is the most important thing at Cutshort. What we're trying to do, we're not trying to build a pipeline of everybody for you. We're trying to build a pipeline of only people who are relevant and who resonate with your kind of company and kind of culture. And that's what we're trying to do here. So first one, as I said, is data and personalization, putting you right in front of the right audience. Second is, again, letting you stand out in terms of what exactly makes you different, and how, and things, dimensions around what candidates really care about, and having those things right up front without really hiding those things and delaying those things. How can we talk about it? In fact, one of the examples you will find here is one of the companies, we asked them, what will get you fired at this company? So those kind of tough questions can be answered by your company as well. And the great thing is, while this is a video which I'm showing the example of, so you can see what techies love and all of that, and you can see video is one way, but if you, let's say you don't have time, you don't have somebody to record a video and all of that, so this is taking a bit of time, because as I said, this is just getting released right now. But not only just video, you can even do a text, you can even do an audio. So you can record an audio answer, you can record a text answer, and which is again, just gives you the flexibility as a recruiter. And third thing which I mentioned is not just creating one more place for you to employ a brand. You are doing LinkedIn, you are doing Glassdoor. So how can you integrate with those products as well? So for example, one thing that we have launched recently is Feedback Assistant, which basically lets you ask questions or ask for feedback when the candidate has spent some amount of time in your hiring funnel. And as soon as, let's say, I'm enabling Feedback Assistant for anybody who attended my open house stage, 14 days after it, I'm enabling Feedback Assistant. So Feedback Assistant will go and will ask the candidate about how they feel about my company. Did they have a good experience? And as soon as they said they had a good experience, the bot will also ask them to rate me on Glassdoor. So again, this is one of the ways where we can entirely automate the process of employer branding, of building employer brand. And again, I can also give an ambition box link as well. So this is an example of how Cutshort wants to take it forward, in the sense that recruiters don't have to do all the hard work. They just come in, they have some answers, some questions and some answers. Then Cutshort basically automates it and integrates into their Glassdoor as well as their LinkedIn efforts. So it becomes very easy for them to operationalize it without needing a lot of support from the marketing team. And here, coming back to this section, candidates can also connect with the LinkedIn, with the team on LinkedIn as well, which is again great, because you have people, your team, your engineering managers, your team tech leads in your company. Can you connect them with your target audience so that your dissemination of information is happening on LinkedIn, and you have more touch points with the candidates, and which just creates more trust as well. So this is again one more feature where when a candidate is looking at the company, you can also choose to identify or highlight the kind of people that you want these people to connect with. And again, this is where we have tried to make sure it's all relevant and targeted. So you will only get incoming requests from people who are the kind of audience you want to attract. So if you're hiring for React Native, you're hiring for Ruby on Rails, you're hiring for DevOps, you only want to connect with those people. You don't want to connect with marketing people. You don't want to connect with people who are in different tech stack, for example. So even if you can have a quality grade, you can even have pre-assessment skills. So whatever targeting options Cutshort gives, which is the best out there, you can define your audience and build an audience and take that audience away on LinkedIn and then engage with them on LinkedIn, create a continuous engagement with them on LinkedIn. Yeah, so this is basically how Cutshort is trying to do it. This is the first release that we have just put out today, and I think we are going to be working on it as well. So it's very interesting, exciting for us to see how this thing will entirely blend and solve the entire problem for recruiters, not just from source, not just about sourcing, but also sourcing, standing out, closing the offers, making more people join, attracting a great audience, building a Glassdoor presence, using LinkedIn as well to create a bit more ripple effect and amplify their message. So pretty excited about that, Shikhar.
Awesome.
Any
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, Nikunj, we will. We've asked everyone to put their questions in the chat box. If someone has not done it yet, please go ahead and share it, because now we will be starting with the Q&A session. Thank you so much, Nikunj, for this. I think this will really solve a lot of our problems. And I saw Shruti was also pretty happy after looking at this demo as to, I'm sure it will also help the employer branding professionals. It will make their lives easy as well. So yeah, I think now let's move to the question.
Yeah, anybody wants to try it out, who wants to enable this on their Cutshort account, you will get a link on chat, so you can request access. We can give you access for that as well.
Yeah, we have also dropped a callback form on the chat if you want to go ahead and have a demo of this. So you can definitely fill that up as well. Cool. So now we will take the questions which the candidates, which the attendees have asked. So let me start with the questions now. Meanwhile, Shruti, if you would like to add something about, I saw you were quite happy about what was shown. So if you would like to add something here.
I love how Cutshort's not only focusing, I think there are two parts of when you build your employer brand. One is building your employer brand awareness. So that first, if you're a young organization, people get to know you. But the other is driving engagement. I love how young organizations take time to reach from awareness to engagement. But I love that you've created a tool or platform where they don't have to compromise on either of those things, but they can simultaneously build that in a more personalized manner where you can connect with the team and have authentic experience about the brand and really get to know it in a very easy manner. So yeah, I think I'm excited about this product for sure.
Amazing. Thanks for your kind words. I hope we keep on improving on that with every passing day. Cool. Now I'll move to the first question that was asked.
How much time we have for questions?
We have roughly 7-8 minutes. We'll try to cater to as many questions as we can, and rest we would definitely, as I said, send across over an email.
Okay, let's pick. Try to answer in a minute or so, like 1 minute for every question.
Yes. So for the first question, I think, Nikunj, it is for you. What's the future of the technical recruiters considering the slowdown in hiring? How to upgrade, upscale in such a time? This was asked by Prashant and Kiran Sagar.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm glad that you are thinking like this. I think technical recruiting in general, technical recruiting in specifically as a one vertical in it, I think it's going to get more specialized. A lot of it can be automated, of course, but then the true nature of a recruiter is actually going to shine through in an environment like this. I think I always say, a lot of people say HR recruiter kind of role is very easy to do, but I think it's one of the hardest roles to do. And it requires increasingly, earlier in the day when I used to ask people, they used to say, I just talk to people, I can communicate, so I'm going to be in HR, right? But this is no longer true. To be a great recruiter today, you have to be, of course, a salesperson, a marketing person. We just discussed the marketing angle to it as well. So you need to understand marketing part and sales part of it. Then you need to also have operational ability of it as well. And then you also have to have tech understanding as well, because you're going to be talking to candidates as well, and tech is changing all the time. How are people deciding? So you have to be data driven. You have to understand how the trends and how the market is changing. It's a very difficult job. So I think cutting down to the answer, I think first identify and understand that this technical recruiting thing is going to become more specialized. It is going to have 2 or 3 different angles to it. Your technical knowledge is going to be important, but your understanding of how people decide, how your target audience thinks is very important. and then using data, using automation to cut down on your time, on your operational work, and trying to increase your human part in it. Trying to increase value, and value in that part is going to be more important. So that is more important. Once you've figured out and you can rank yourself, where do you stand today, where you want to learn more, then you can look for specific knowledge in that area. So let's say you want to know more about marketing and employer branding. So then these sessions like this are very interesting or useful to you. If you think you want to understand the data side of it more, the trend part of it more, the survey part of it more, then you can attend those sessions and engage with people around those circles as well. I think on that note, by the way, there was a plan that we had about doing a masterclass certification program in recruiting as well, because we realized that the skills needed today are different from the erstwhile technical recruiting days. So I think there is something that we want to launch as well. So I'm happy to talk to you guys more about it. Maybe we can do a small sandbox kind of a thing, 10-15 people, and we can discuss more about it. So why don't we do one thing? We will send you an email after this webinar. Just reply to any of those emails and say you are interested in that masterclass or that technical certification or something about technical recruiting. We can figure out what you want to learn, and then we can try to do something together. How about that?
Please put it in the chat section, answering Nikunj. How about that? So I think we already had like 4 or 5 responses where people are really up for it. I would also want to add one thing to this, and I always say this out loud, that we as recruiters need to move on from being a call center executive to an entrepreneur. That's exactly in a nutshell where, if you really want to be in this market, which is turning the dynamics are changing every single day. Think like an entrepreneur. You should know every single thing that runs in the business side of things, and not just be a recruiter's calling, taking 8-9 details which you used to have in a typical form, noting it down and sending it to the hiring manager. That's not going to work anymore, and that will not let your job sustain, to put it very brutally.
So there are 2 parts to it, right? One is a job stability or job existence question. I think more important question is your impact of your job and the value of your job. I think if you do the right things with the tech market itself becoming very, very expensive, every candidate is becoming more expensive, and the spend that companies are doing on tech hiring or tech talent is more. A percentage of that will be your value that you will be adding. So it's actually a great sign that in tech salary is increasing, because recruiter salary will also increase along with a tech salary, but only when you are doing justice to it. If you're calling people operationalizing and all of that, then of course you're not really riding the wave. If you can justify the value of your role, you can make a deeper impact, then your value or your impact also will increase dramatically.
Great. I think, Nikunj, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I would just take the last question for the day, and this will be parked at both Deepakshi and Shruti. I would want Deepakshi to go for it first. So Deepakshi, Parag from Techno Guys has asked, how differently can we pitch our employer branding strategies to have a good amount of conversion?
Got it. This is Parag. Hey Parag, I think, and I'd love to know if I've answered your question correctly, and if you have clarity post that. So please drop that in the chat. Okay, how differently for you to be able to pitch your employer branding? I think the one and the most important thing would be authenticity, because nobody can actually copy something that is, real, or even the culture for that matter, right? So be more authentic. There is not much need to draw a very dreamy picture of your workplace, something that is completely untrue or something that sets wrong expectations, I'd say. So very small example, if in a startup ecosystem, or for that matter, if in your company, sometimes people are required to stay late or even come in on weekends, instead of making that something to be to actually shy down upon, make that something which is actually a reality, that startups are not completely hunky-dory. At the end of the day, people actually need to come together and put in significant efforts. So moving back to the point that I mentioned was that authenticity, and be more real with the content, because that actually sets the right expectations, and it is good for you also, and not just the candidate, because you will get more quality applications, I would say. And so that works both ways. Secondly, I would say be more consistent. just don't think that, one social media post again, or hiring something, hiring for somebody, or an important position, or one time you went on a team outing, you post once a month or once in 2 months. I'd say bring down your frequency to a weekly, a weekly or a recurring time frame if you can, because that is something that will actually build more consistency, and with consistency it will build a better brand recall value for your organization in front of the candidates who follow you on LinkedIn or who are seeing somebody else post. That is there. And thirdly, I think Nikunj touched upon one of the channels that were Glassdoors. So I think always great to see more organic and authentic reviews being, plugged in on Glassdoor, and even the employer, in fact, to be able to respond in a better manner, even if it's an extreme, a negative comment. There is a way to tackle everything, and there is a way via which these things should be addressed and not ignored, if that is actually painting a picture of your organization in front of the candidates today. So yeah, I think these broadly 2 to 3 things should ideally help. And if you need to chat more in detail, happy to have a conversation separately.
Yeah, I think one of the days, if we are doing this masterclass, we should have a masterclass on employer branding, especially social media and managing Glassdoor and all of that. I think, you and Shruti would be great addition to that class.
Amazing. Parag is really happy with the answer that Deepakshi gave. Cool. One final question for the day, and this I'll be asking Shruti about. So Shruti, this is a very cut to chase action item. Give me an action item kind of question by Rahul. So he's saying that my company is planning to hire 500 people by the end of March 2023, which is approximately 9 months from now. What are some of the employer branding strategies that can be used?
That's a very interesting thing, a very complex, multi-layered question. See, here's the thing, there's no hack to, I would like to say, like, these marketing hacks and everything hack, there is no hack to it. You have to put in the tough work, you have to put in the work of actually doing it. But that doesn't mean there's no hope for you. There is always hope. For you to be able to hire as many candidates as you want, first you have to, you have understanding about what is the kind of market you're catering to. Are you hiring more in the senior managerial level or starting? If it's a, let's say a fresher who's just graduated out of college, then they don't have a great understanding of work culture or priorities, right? There's a lot of like prestige matter where there is, oh, this person got this much package, how much am I going to get? So, that's essentially what's going to sell. Understand your audience well. And once you do, actually just cater to them. It's very like listening to people can actually be the most transformative thing. So listen to your audience. If you're hiring for senior managerial role, if that's where the crux is, the larger chunk, then understand their aspiration. If it's in the Indian market, then they're going to love a great culture, etc. So your communication is going to be centered around that. Otherwise, probably for growth. Then you add in the benefit of growth, like for example, you give ESOPs. Apart from ESOPs, you share stories of how those ESOPs have buybacks, because I know one of the things that financial stability is something that everyone's looking for. So if you're laid off, then ESOPs don't have a lot of value. So try and share the stories if you can. So it really depends on understanding the core, your target group and catering to them. All the messaging that you do, any messaging for that matter, your social media messaging or anything, there's no one-time hack of saying that, okay, I've put in this post. You have to consistently cater to your audience. And in your, you have Cutshort, of course, doing that for you. But also, if you have any other ways of collecting interview feedback from your existing people, your alumni who've, moved on to other companies or potential candidates, collect that, understand them, and then go with a strategy. Don't, I know a lot of companies are doing things like, you will be like, oh, this company is doing something really cool, I also want to implement it. That's not going to work for you. That worked for them because they listened to their employees or the target audience.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shruti. I think this was really insightful. We have noted down all the questions, and we will be taking that up, sharing it with Deepakshi and Shruti for their insights and the tech hiring related questions directed at Nikunj for him to answer. And then we'll be sending it across to you over an email very soon. And you can always have a look out on the emails that we send, and we try to be as informative as we can. So in the end, I would like to thank Deepakshi and Shruti for taking out time and joining us as our special guest. And also would like to thank Nikunj for helping us understand how Cutshort can help, and giving an very insightful session on how tech hiring has been changing, or how the trends have been. I think I am moving out of this webinar as a more learned person. So I'm sure everyone else is as well. So there's one more final poll for the feedback that we are sharing, because that will help us to understand what next, what do you want to see next, and how did you like the whole flow of things. It will help us improve. We are also learning on the way and trying to improve to the best of your interest. So yeah, once again, thank you so much, Shruti, Deepakshi. It was a pleasure having you here. And thank you so much, Nikunj, and thank you personally as well.
Thank you, everyone. We can keep the chat section open. If people have any suggestions or feedback for the next session, they can leave it there. I think I'm seeing the polls. 81% people are saying it's very insightful. Thanks, Shruti and Shikhar and Deepakshi for that. 90% people are saying somewhat insightful. So I think there's something definitely we could have added more value there. So I would love to know more about from the 16 people who said somewhat it could have been more insightful. What could have made it more insightful, and any other thing that you would like to see in the next discussion, any of the follow-up topics from here. We can keep the chat section open, but yeah, I think we can all start to leave if we want.
And last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants who joined in on a busy Thursday. So it's been great. And
our audience is the best, Shikhar. They stay around, they ask questions, they are always supportive, as I said. So yeah.
Great. I could clearly see that today, and I hope Deepakshi and Shruti also had a great time.
I did. It's an impressive audience, such great questions. Really looking forward to answering more questions.
I absolutely echo the sentiment, and the market says that webinars are out of fashion now. Clearly not after this webinar. So definitely seeing a very high number of people participate here as compared to the other webinars happening at the moment.
Thanks for validating what we do at Cutshort, Deepakshi, and obviously definitely the audience. So yeah, it's been great.
So one question from Prashant is coming in for the next webinar, perhaps about compensation benchmarking. So yeah, Prashant, we have noted it down. Anybody else has any suggestions? We are listening. We'll pick it up from here, and then in the next sessions we'll try to add it. But yeah, I think Shruti and other Deepakshi and others, if you want to leave, you can leave. Thank you so much for joining today. Bye.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
The power in negotiation, Winston is asking for. Winston, you want to come online and explain what exactly you mean?
Yeah, sure. I mean, thanks, guys. Fantastic session. I sent LinkedIn invites to some of the hosts. So, fantastic. I want to share an important insight that I've gathered in the last 5 years. So most of us recruiters, we tend to not hold the power of negotiation. And it's all about first smoking out what people are looking for. Weave the story, tell the story. That's where the true skill of marketing comes in. But closing a deal is the most important. We all know that, right? And a deal can either go through or not go through. But the power of negotiating and not being desperate, and a couple of founders actually used to tell me that we kind of give away things. But when I look at how other people do it, I see the power of building win-win negotiation. So I would love to rebuild the skill of mine as well, Nikunj. So is there a way? I remember there was this fantastic IIM prof who did a session for me in 2015. And I remember I benefited hugely through it. So is there a way we can equip on our recruiters through that masterclass, where we have a section where we carve out and talk about what does negotiation mean? Just my 2 cents, guys.
Yeah, I think we should put a skeleton of a masterclass. We should add topics in that: compensation benchmarking, negotiation, sourcing, employer branding, already coming in as some very important pieces there.
Yep.
Anybody who wants to help us build that outline and wants to be part of it, it will not be a like completed product. It will be like you will be the guinea pigs. So anybody who wants to be a guinea pig, please come forward and reply to any of our emails and say you to join that. So I think this then we can then make this outline and see, once I think we start doing something, people will start joining and this will start actually getting built up.
Nikunj, and thank you. A lot of people fail to say thank you to you, but I think you're truly one of the few that are giving back a lot to the community as well. Please continue to be the person you are, and your team continues to inspire us even on the fun at work activities like your Goa trip. It really inspired me to also call time out for myself. So, a lot of, love going the way to, to Cutshort. Here to support in whatever way I can. The new avatar, I will be coming to you all. Before I go to anyone else, it will be you guys. Don't worry.
Thank you so much and all the best to you, Vinny. Okay, so I think, so I think we can wrap up here, Shikhar, in that case.
Yes, we can.
Nikunj, can I say something, please?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, this is Ashish here from Peacock Engineering, and I'm calling from Bangalore itself. And one quick question for you, like you having a segment for the people who can get their job like from 20K to 50, 80K, right? So do we have any premium segment where the people who lost their job in pandemic and is still struggling to get a new job up to 1 lakh or 1,25,000, 60, 1.5 lakh? So do you have any premium section for those corporate employees like CA, IE, who having very good skills but still market are very down for new jobs? So do we have any premium, because they are struggling still on Naukri and they are not up to date about, they don't know about Cutshort. So can you help those people as well? You understand my point? I'm not sure I made my point clear to you, but
can you drop me an email? We can connect on that.
oh, okay, I'll do that.
Nikunj at Kashra.io.
Okay, thank you, and I really appreciate your efforts and keep doing this. Yeah, I agree with Winston. He said that so many people who fail to thank you on behalf of Davos. I want to thank you.
No, I think it's like whatever little we know, it's all coming from customers and users like you only, right? So it's like is getting knowledge from anywhere, is coming from the community, going back to the community.
So
Cutshort team, hi. This is Omkar from TechPress and one of your fanboys.
Your voice is not very clear, Om. Prashant, in the meantime,
I just heard a fanboy loud.
You asked the question about certification PGM, program for recruiters. That's what we were just discussing, Prashant. We should be doing some masterclass and then maybe a certification program, because I think there's also this need that, what today's recruitment needs is not what a lot of recruiters have. So if you can somehow make it structured and then maybe train people, and I think it will have to be a bit more community effort. I don't think we can do it all by ourselves. So we need people like you to come forward and create help in building this program if you're interested, Prashant. Yeah, Om, you are back. I think he's left. No, he's here.
He's here. His mic has issues. So he's saying that Nikunj and team, your fanboy from TechP. Congratulations, great thinking here. Thanks a lot. And it's great that you have joined and people like you are motivating us to be going on with what we are doing.
Yeah, I mean, that is something which is not very well understood and credited, that users who come and acknowledge, give you a pat on your back. These are the people who actually drive the inspiration, become an inspiration for us to do more things. Otherwise, you're not doing it for money alone. I mean, you're doing it for something to create an impact, to see people coming back to you and saying it actually helped them. So I think it's great that, and I think that's what we keep on saying, that our users and our customers are the best people out there. Okay, so I think we can stop now.
Yes. If anyone wants to connect, our LinkedIn, the email route to go ahead and connect with us. We'll definitely be connecting with you, so you can always reply back to that. Thank you so much once again, everyone. And as they said that not a lot of people thank Nikunj always. So I'll once again take that opportunity to thank Nikunj as well for enlightening us every single time. Thank you so
Would like
much.
to Shikhar. He's been really, his posts are really insightful, and it is actually helping us a lot. So this session was actually very important, and it actually helped me to understand the boundaries of employer branding. I have been doing it in LinkedIn, but a lot of things. So I was not able to get the number of reach about my posts. So likewise, the panel who have joined with, they have mentioned that we have to utilize LinkedIn as much as we can. It's a platform where we can do everything, and I've been doing that. People are joining us, and I've been doing the post for their welcome. But the reach is not. It's what I think I'm lacking there.
Yeah, no, it's a common problem. Your reach will be limited to begin with. I think you have to be consistent. You need to understand what you want to talk about, and then you have to continuously build your network. So I think they all mentioned that it's a compounding effort. It's a consistent effort that will pay off. If you just try to become very short-sighted or impatient, that it's been 1 month, I'm not getting results, then I think even in marketing doesn't work like that. In marketing also, it kind of works in long term only. But happy to look at your work that you're doing, and like send me your links of whatever post you're doing, and maybe if we can find something which can improve the quality of your post, then maybe you can give me some suggestions. But else, I think increase your network, keep at it, try to talk about more meaningful stuff. But I think a lot of people actually talk about hygiene factors, about coolness in their workplace, and all of that. But I think something meaningful has to come out. I think something which really makes people notice that what are you standing for. I think somewhere we have lost that thing on LinkedIn. Everybody is just talking and bragging about swag, about t-shirts, about parties, about all of that. But that genuineness has to come out of it.
It is crossing the line of Facebook actually nowadays in LinkedIn. So that is the point we all are struggling. So even good posts and good insights, actually people know when they see some photos. Earlier we used to do that when we are posting some pictures, it was creating an impact. But nowadays people are seeing that if someone has posted picture, it is more like they treat as something people are trying to be cool, or they have shared something like they share it over Facebook. So that is not working out. I think that took a different way.
Yeah, I think every platform will have issues, but I think it's not just about your reach only. I think the point is not only about reach. The point is that when you are making an effort to share something which is meaningful to you, that effort itself gets counted. And it may not work at the top of the funnel when people are coming to you, but when they are considering you, they will go back to LinkedIn and check out your post, even though nobody saw them before. And now they're going to learn about your company from those posts. So it's still going to be a useful activity for you.
Sure, Nikunj, that was really helpful. I'll definitely ping you if I do a posting, and looking forward to your support on that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
and
everyone.
next webinar and next event will meet soon. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.